Recent fast-moving fires across our area have claimed several lives. The youngest, a 17-day-old infant at this home in Elmhurst, Queens.
It's just awful here. These emergencies highlighting the importance of fire safety in private homes as well as apartment buildings, right? Which is why we are joined this morning by FDNY Commissioner Lillian Bonsignor and New York City Buildings Commissioner Ahmed Tagani with more on some life-saving tips for this joint appearance. Good to have both of you commissioners here this morning.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
It's so important to talk about what we've seen kind of play out. A lot of fires in the first month of the year in January, right? And I want to begin, Commissioner Bonsignor, with what we saw play out in Elmhurst and that 17-day-old baby as well as her mother. What's the latest on the investigation there?
Yeah, it was obviously a very tragic event.
Yeah.
Fast-moving fire, heavy fire load, and the building was completely destroyed. And again, this was an example of people living in a space that didn't have great exit plans. So, it's so important that we play a role in keeping ourselves and our families and friends safe.
Yeah, we're talking about a basement apartment, and
Yes.
Commissioner Tagani, the buildings department had been there several times, from what I understand, to take a look at this particular apartment. How do you do it so that, or how do you go about making sure that these apartments can exist and make them safe?
I think that's an excellent question and a big part of what we're trying to proactively do as a city to ensure that as we create spaces where people can live or create new spaces where people can live, that we're giving direction, we're creating the rules and regulations to make them safe, and providing resources for homeowners who want to make these homes available to New Yorkers.
Well, what was the particular situation there with this apartment? Was there an issue with it?
So I think people often will, and just to take a step back and say that over the last few weeks, we are seeing these kind of incidences in both legal and spaces that have difficulty with egress or are not legal apartments. So in both cases, we have to remind people whether you are in either situation, fire safety is important. DOB, FDNY, any of the enforcement agencies will always respond to complaints that come from the public. There are complaints that come from the public. We issue out directions, in some cases violation and more heavy enforcement when people don't follow up. And in those instances, it's not just enforcement. It's about education to tell them about how to make the corrections, how to keep safe. And then now the city has programs like the ADU program or the basement legalization programs where we're going to help homeowners make these units safe for people to live.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like basement apartments in particular are a trouble spot for the city, right? We talk about it often with flooding issues during storms as well as fires with exit. So how do you know, Commissioner Bonsignor, where they are, how to target them, and what the outreach is to kind of teach some of this fire safety?
I think just from seeing what's going on across our city, we can't possibly know where all of these spaces are. And unfortunately, we don't find them until there's tragedy, which is really why the two of us are here together.
Yeah.
Because, these agencies are talking to each other saying, how can we keep people safe? Well, we're finding them when it's too late. So I think things like this, right? Getting the message out and reaching out to your neighbors and friends in the community and talking to them about fire prevention and fire safety. And there's so many tips that we can offer them if they go to fdnysmart.org. We have a load of tips there. They're at your fingertips. But we need people to feel safe and housed, right? We want people to be housed, but we want them to be safe.
But this is the issue, right? Because some people might live in these units that are, to your point, maybe not legal. And so they know that they're in a trouble spot. They don't necessarily have a fire exit. So what is how do you make sure that they are safe? Is it a fine? Is it an eviction to that safer place? How do you go about it?
So I think there's two parts of the answer here. One, it's how do you bring in people to work with you and be part of the alert and the warning systems that you need. So not too long ago, the city had set up systems to have people sign up to get alerts if there's a disaster or if there is something they should know about that may affect basement apartments more acutely than other areas. Then the city went forward to think about different programs through the City of Yes, where there's code and building changes to make it easier to legalize these apartments. We set up programs that we've been releasing in phases so that people can look at financing and direction and get help from nonprofits in the city to make those corrections, file permits with the city, and start making them safer spaces. And beyond that, for individuals who do not take the right steps, both of our agencies have, and our sister agency, HPD, have enforcement tools to make the corrections necessary.
Now, you may recall, obviously, after the Twin Parks fire, you implemented self-closing doors to help prevent fires. Is there
Yes.
anything else that the buildings department has done or you feel like should be done to prevent more fires like that?
Yeah, I think that right now, both our agencies, our partners at HVD, colleagues at the Department of City Planning, we have been working hard since getting building code changes that make this easier to move forward with legal, safe basements. And so we have been releasing tools, and we're actually going to release more tools and further guidance so that people have that direction.
Yeah, I mean, self-closing doors is one aspect, but also just closing your apartment door is a big outreach
and
as well.
there's so many very simple things we can
Yeah.
do to try to reduce our risk, right,
Yeah.
in fire. And there are things like making sure that your door is closed. If you're in that situation, close the door behind you, call 911 very quickly, as quickly as you can. But having things like working smoke alarms, you know, there's lots of folks that don't have them, and we need
give them out.
We need to have them. We'll give them out for free, and if you go to our website, it'll show you how to do that. But having a working smoke alarm and things like space heaters, we know we've had this stretch of really frigid weather, and people get creative when it comes to trying to stay warm. So space heaters are especially dangerous.
Candles.
We should be using them according to the manufacturer's recommendations, keeping them on a flat surface, not putting them around things like curtains and bedding and sweaters and things like that. Having 3 feet clearance and never leaving it on when you're not in a room.
Right.
And you mentioned candles.
Yeah.
Candles are very, very dangerous. Always put them out before you go to sleep or before you leave a room. But they're especially dangerous when you have children and pets.
Oh, exactly.
Right? So these things are important and easy to do. I would say people should take an inventory of their house. Maybe put your kid on it. You're a teenage. Maybe they need to be the ambassador for fire safety.
Good idea.
And you know, walk around the apartment, walk around your house, and see if you have any bad plugs. See if you have any extension cords that are old. And if you do, throw them away. Never use them. Don't electrical tape them together, and never plug them into each other.
Yeah, and we should also do our part, though, as homeowners, property owners, to clear away the space around the fire hydrants to help the firefighters out as well, especially after the snowstorms we've had.
The only thing I'll add is that we also have a responsibility as a building department to make sure that our construction sites are maintained and kept safe. So we send out weather advisories, we give instructions, because we live in a dense urban city, and so we want to make sure our construction sites are also following.
All right, we've got to leave it there, but I appreciate you both with this important message for so many that are out there. Okay, continue to stay safe out there. Everybody, thank you both, and we'll be right back.